911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everybody, welcome. How have you guys all been? It feels like it's been forever. I hope you guys have had a good week. I had a really busy one. Lots of things going on with my family. And had a really nice, very quiet and relaxing 4th of July. Enjoyed that very much. Had some great food, great company. So I hope everybody had a really good time. I took a few days off, and I did that because just every once in a while we need that break as content creators. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff I felt would be going on over this long holiday weekend, so I felt okay about taking a couple days away from the channel. But I did miss you guys. And oh, hey Dave, how are you? Hey Indy Pam, Danger Dave, thank you so much for your super sticker. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hey Josh, how are you? So good to have you with me. Hey Lynn, good to see you as well. John, how are you doing? So thankful that you're with me tonight. Hey Jill, good to see you, my dear. Hi Beach Fairy. I did put up a link, you guys. The link is for the new video that Fig Solve, our good friend of the channel, put out just a few hours ago. If you guys haven't seen it, it's an interview, a live interview with the ex-FBI agent, Coffin. Gosh, I am so sorry, Jennifer. Jennifer Coffin Daffer. She is the ex-FBI agent who has commented on this case of Delphi, and she is also a contributing expert for News Nation on all of their cases. And she has a very lengthy career, over 20 years with the Bureau. She had many different positions that she held. She worked in SWAT. She worked in all of the cases that she dealt with were, I want to say, like really bad criminal type behavior. She worked gangs. She worked narcotics. She worked murders. Just all kinds of expertise she has. She's a firearm expert as well. And she has that under her belt. And so, hold on one second. I just needed to find something. There we go. And she talks to Fig about the ballistic evidence in the Delphi case. And she also talks to him about the confessions that supposedly Richard Allen did while incarcerated at Westville on the phone with his wife and mother. So it's really worth watching if you guys haven't seen it. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Jennifer touched on tonight. I thought she brought up some really good points. So I really want to talk about that. John, thank you so much for sharing the intro music by Tech Death. Can't say enough about him. He is just so very talented. Please, you guys, if you get a chance and you haven't, check out his YouTube channel, subscribe and like his music, and share it where you share your great music with your friends and all your social media, because he really is amazing. Hi, Indy Pam. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Hey, Deb. How are you, my dear? It's so good to see you. I miss you. Hey, Betsy Bling. Hey, Cammie. How are you? Hey, True Crime Housewife. Good to see you. Thanks, Beach Fairy. Hey, Ray Jones. How are you? Good to see you. So, yeah. Like I said, I just really needed a break from everything. And every once in a while, that happens. And I really last year didn't do that for myself. Hey, Phil Bond. I was going live 3 times a week. I didn't miss very many days. And I really didn't do self-care as well as I should have. One of the things that I'm trying to concentrate on this year is self-care for myself. Covering the content. Yeah, Beach Fairy, he will do intros. Yes, he will. So, hey, James Powers, how are you? Good to have you with us. So, just so you guys understand, I think I said it before, but there's just, sometimes this content gets super heavy, and sometimes you just feel like you need a break. And I know that it can be frustrating for subscribers who like the content and look forward to my content. And one of the things that I'm going to start doing is I'm going to try to do some live streaming without chat. I'm just going to record some so that when I do have an evening or something that I need to be away from the channel for, I'll still have content that I can put out that you guys can watch. And I thought that that could be an alternative to not being able to interact with me. So, you're right, Dave. Burnout is bad, and it doesn't matter what we're doing, whether it's work or, pleasure or whatever. But when things start to get heavy and you're feeling it, it's time to, evaluate and, um, it can become very emotional. And because I feel like I'm really truly an empath, in that I take on other people's problems as my own, I feel their pain and all of that. It can really be daunting. Um, so, you know, I won't stop doing what I'm doing at this point because I really am enjoying my channel. I enjoy um, getting to talk to you guys about all of these cases, but I also um, just want to, let you guys know kind of where I'm coming from sometimes. And there's been a lot of great content, even though I can be away or seem like I'm not here and I'm not going live. Trust that I am still reading as much as I possibly can, newspaper articles. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm watching documentaries. I'm doing all that I can to figure out new cases and new information that I want to bring to all of you guys. And so even though I don't seem to be here, I'm still working, you know, on some of this stuff. So I just wanted you to know that. But it was great. Like I said, I got to spend time with my boys, and it's always wonderful to have that downtime where you don't have to worry about going live and having great content to put forth. Hey, country girl. Hey, Melissa. How are you? Thank you so much, Beach Fairy, for understanding, because um, it's very important. And again, I'm one of those creators that feels it's important how we tell their stories. It matters. It matters how we convey the stories, not only of the victims, but the survivors. It matters. And um, so I'm not going to always be one that, um, goes live right away with information until I figure out if that information is worthwhile. So, um, if you guys haven't, please check out Deb's True Crime Notebook. She has an amazing new channel on YouTube in the true crime genre. She is absolutely kicking it. She's doing, hey, Boston Christian, how are you? She is absolutely doing her utmost best at it. I have to say, I am so enamored that she has figured out TikTok. She's putting out content all the time on TikTok, and I've never been able to figure that one out. So um I don't have time. Seriously, I just don't have the time to have content on all the different platforms. And again, I get that if I did, I would grow faster, much faster, but it's not about that for me. Although the more people that I can reach, the better for these cases. Because in actuality, that's the reason I'm here, is to get these cases in the forefront and out there and have someone talking about them and have them um, matter, you know? So many of these cases seem to have been forgotten. And yeah, Abby and Libby's case is what got me started to do this. but there's so many others, and um it's I don't know. It's just I'm just glad I'm here. So, hey Miss Thang, how are you? Good to see you. um so oh Danielle, thank you. Oh, that's insane. Danielle said that quality over quantity. I watched a YouTuber on a live stream yesterday go behind the crime scene tape at the King Roadhouse in Idaho while a whole open panel laughed about it. Unreal. Oh my God. That is so unbelievable to me. I can't understand why people, they're 15 minutes of fame, I guess. Oh, Deb, thank you so much, my dear. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, So yeah, we're going to talk about Delphi a little bit tonight. I want to talk a little bit about, I thought that Fig did an amazing job getting Jennifer on his show, and she's a very busy woman. She is not only an expert that is called to testify in cases, she is on TV all the time covering cases as an expert. Um, Oh yeah, YouTube is terrible about it, Danielle. I mean, I get it. Even if you would have reported it to YouTube, I just um I always have felt that a fact-based channel when it comes to true crime is the best way to go, because not only does it do service and justice to the case itself, but it treats the family and the victims with much respect. Um, oh no, too bad, Melissa. I'm really sorry to hear about your mom. I hope everything works out and is okay. It's never good when we fall. Um, and definitely needs to have that checked out, especially if her leg is hurting her and bothering her. Um, so I will add her to my prayers, and thank you for letting us know. Um, Frank Meister is great. He has really come out, and his channel is great. He's doing a lot of great work. And I do respect the work that he's doing. So yeah. There's quite a few channels out there that are doing upstanding jobs at keeping it fact-based and not going off the rails. So um what else was I gonna say? I think that was it. I thought we would just get into this. Um, so I so they were talking about Fig and Jennifer talk about the forensics and the examination of the unspent shell casing that was found at the crime scene between the bodies of Abby and Libby. It basically said in the new documents that it was found about 2 feet from Libby. So um there's been so much speculation about this evidence. There's been a lot of content creators, a lot of talk about it, both pros and cons. People have talked about that this is junk science, that it's not a science that is approved. However, Jennifer refutes that and says that this kind of evidence holds up very well in court. And when you have experts that's all they do is look at these kinds of bullets and casings and so on for marks. And, they have a database for these things as well, where they can go in and look at a type of gun, and every gun is different. Even though it could be the same model, obviously manufactured by the same manufacturer and all of that, it's still something that's mechanical. So it could possibly be that, and they've proven this, that a spent round, a shell that has been fired, has so much force when it's coming out of the chamber of the firearm that it creates an indent mark on the back of the bullet, and as it's passing through the barrel of the gun, it creates striations or marks that are distinct to that barrel and to that handgun. So it's the same with an unspent round that is ejected from the gun, because the ejection mechanism leaves a mark. So all of that is science. All of that is backed by years and years of education. And I thought it was interesting too, John, that Jennifer didn't seem to understand why the bullet would be at the crime scene. She also seemed to be confused that Richard Allen said he was at the crime scene often. No, he wasn't. Richard Allen told investigators he was never on Ron Logan's property, ever. He didn't go walking in those woods. He just walked on the trail. So there would be no reason for Richard Allen's bullet or shell casing or whatever to be between the girls. He also told law enforcement he didn't loan his gun to anyone. He always knew where it was, and no one ever used it besides him. All of those things are damning to him when you have a piece of his ammunition that matches to his gun found at a crime scene of 2 murdered children. So that's evidence. And I do believe that it is highly possible that he did that to intimidate them. It's also possible that it happened. He had his gun out to control them, and it's very possible that a struggle ensued, and it happened at that point as well. But if we don't know, we just don't know yet what happened. So I believe that Abby's mom, Anna, stated years ago that when they listened to the audio recording of the video, when they listened to it all, hey, Colette, thank you so much. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. That you could definitely hear the sound of a gun. So, he would have done that to get them to comply. Not that pulling the gun might not have been enough, but yeah, if he really, really wanted to scare them into submission, that would be a way to do it. So to me, that explains exactly why the gun would, the bullet would be there. I also believe that since Richard Allen couldn't explain why it would be there, because he's never been over there, that makes it pretty damning, in my opinion. So they talked about that, and they also talked about um, this was what I thought was quite interesting, and I loved hearing from Jennifer on this. Was Fig asked her specifically about the 2019 press conference when Doug Carter set up, and we all that have been following this case since day one, we were all there. We were watching that press conference. We were all in, our mouths were dropped. We were all sitting there like, who's he talking to? There's been a consensus for years. Well, actually two, regarding Doug Carter and that press conference. Was he talking to an actual person that they knew? Or was he talking and speaking to a FBI profile? And Jennifer said it was an FBI profile. She actually has seen the FBI profile on this case, and that he practically read it straight from the profile. And there's so much negativity around law enforcement these days. Not only, in the press, and a few bad apples can spoil the whole bunch, as we well know, that sort of thinking. But what I'm trying to say here is that the FBI has some of the best, if not the best, profilers in the world. They get it right 99.9% of the time when they sit down and do a profile of a criminal, when they have the information that they need to put one together. And I believe just a second, guys, I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. I needed to get my inhaler and make sure I had it with me. So with that being said, the FBI believes that this killing or killer, that this whole crime was about power and control. And I think we need to stop and think about that for a little bit. Because when you stop and look at Richard Allen, you have this small statured type of man who purposely, in my opinion, changed his appearance after 2017, drastically gaining weight and drastically changing everything about him, his facial hair, shaving his head, all the things that he did so that he could continue to hide in plain sight. But even with all of that, and you look at him, he doesn't strike you as a person who would be controlling. And that's just from looks on the outside. And I think what we tend to fail to remember is that we don't know people. And if you look at him prior to 2017, I had the I don't know if you want to call it the luxury or good fortune, but as soon as his name was announced as being the person who was arrested, I immediately went to Facebook to see if I could find a profile on him. Didn't find one on him, but I did find Kathy Allen's and his wife. And I immediately started searching desperately for her on her profile. I screen captured a ton of stuff that's no longer there. I also downloaded and screenshotted pictures of him. And I have many pictures of him. I have one of him in his living room in a recliner where he's just sitting out in the, out in the recliner, like watching TV or whatever. So when you look at him sitting out in the recliner, like watching TV or whatever, so from the web. Hold on a minute, you guys, my Apple Watch is deciding to talk to me, and I don't really want it to talk to me right now. Okay, so when you look back at those photographs from 2016, you see a completely different person. This guy is singing, dancing, playing pool in one of his videos. And the one of him on the hike with the horses in the background, that was actually taken on a trip to Tennessee where in Gatlinburg, I believe. And that was after the murders. And you can see how happy he was, how he was just out living the life. And that was after the murders. So you have to stop and wonder about what the stress of all of this would do to someone. If he's a psychopath, which I have no way of knowing if he is or isn't, if he is, all he cares about is Richard Allen. Nothing else matters to him, including his family. He doesn't have the capacity to have those kinds of feelings. But he can pretend to. And he can try to play the part. It's almost like being an actor. And he is playing a part of a father and a husband and all of that. And that's how these psychopaths operate. And they're able to fit in and blend in at work and in their home life as if nothing happened. How many times have we read on serial killers and murderers that are able to go out and commit these horrific crimes and then go home and sit down with their families and have dinner? And I don't believe he feels guilty. I don't believe he feels guilty about any of this. What he's upset about is that he's lost his livelihood. He's lost his life, his job, the persona of being this great normal guy. And that could be difficult for him. Very difficult for him. I think when you look at what's going on with him, when they talk about the confessions. And, Fig asked some great questions in this interview, but they do talk about it. And he asked Jennifer, if you were the lead agent on this case and the warden or whoever calls you up and says, your suspect just confessed 5 different times on tape, on phone calls to family members, what would your response be? And Jennifer said that she would be doing a cartwheel in the precinct. Hey, Robin. So good to have you. Thank you so much for coming. Hey, Stephanie. How are you, my dear? Good to see you. Hey, CJK, I missed you coming in. How are you? It's good to see you as well. So she said, of all the confessions that you can get pre-trial from a suspect, confessions made to family members or friends are the ones you want. They uphold and stand up well in court. You usually don't have any issues with them. Hey, Fig. How are you, my dear? So good to see you. I miss you. What an amazing interview you did, and great content. You gave us so much to think about and so much to talk about. I love it. Thank you so much for getting Jennifer and talking to her. It was amazing. Those are the types of confessions that they want. It's harder when you have a confession to another inmate because that inmate has already been charged with crimes, usually very serious ones. So their credibility is kind of, on the suspect. And so sometimes that can prove a real obstacle if that's who they have saying, oh yeah, he confessed to me. Then if you have a guard or a prison guard or someone in law enforcement, again, that becomes an issue of contention because was it a coerced situation? Did they somehow coerce them into confessing and all of that? So I don't believe that any of that is what we're looking at, obviously, here. And we don't have to worry about coercion. He chose to come clean or whatever it was he did to his wife and his mother. Now, John, I agree with you 100%. To me, the biggest takeaway on these confessions is that he confessed to his own mother. Who is going to break their mother's heart by telling her that they killed 2 people, let alone 2 teenage girls? I mean, really, you have to stop and think about that for a minute. That takes some kind of person to be able to tell your own mother that, knowing how devastating that's going to be to her. But again, to me, that's another reason why I believe him. I don't believe that he's lying, and I don't believe that this is an act and that he's falsely confessing. I don't believe that he's got a mental illness. I believe that the warden had it right. His mental illness or his mental issues all surfaced after he had the confession on April the 3rd, is when he confessed to Kathy Allen. We're not sure of when the confession to his mother happened, but it probably was within that same time span is what I'm thinking. in the document dump that they did, they also told us that he, after he confessed to them, his whole demeanor changed towards them. He didn't want visitors. He didn't want to talk to them. He wouldn't accept phone calls from them. He stopped communicating with them. And I had discussed this before on the channel. I equate it to how people behave when they are put into hospice, something that I have experience with, something that I know about. And when people are facing death and end of life, there's a lot of things that happen it's just something that happens that people do. Um, and you can see this. And so I think this man has given up. I don't believe he wants to be here anymore. I don't believe I believe that I believe that he sees this as his death sentence. He knows that they've caught him. He knows that he's not going to get out of this. And so that's why he has confessed to his family, because he's trying to make it easy for them to break away from him, in hopes that Kathy will say, okay, I'm done with you. What kind of person? I never knew you. Because, I mean, stop and think about it. Richard Allen and Kathy Allen were high school sweethearts. They've been married all of these years. She probably has absolutely no inkling or idea that this man was capable of doing something so horrific. What I find interesting is the house is sold. She put the house up for sale after this confession. And she's probably hightailing it out of Dodge. You know, she's probably saying, I'm going to start over. I need to go somewhere else where this isn't going on. But what bothers me with that thought process, you guys, is that she's still going to court, because she was in court the last time he was in June with him. Now, is that because she wants to see the end of this, or is it, is it something else? I mean, is she not really truly supporting him and she just wants to see how all of this plays out and all of that? I don't know. I don't know the answers to those questions. I don't know that any of us will. I do know that, hey, Babs, thank you so much. I do know that one of the things that comes to mind for me with her is they do not need her to testify regarding the confessions. They have the tape of Richard Allen. All they will have to do is have somebody from the prison state that, that yes, he was on the phone, talking to his wife, and then they'll show a transcript of that call. They may even play the call, for that matter. And that's all they need. So the defense may call her. I definitely could see the defense trying to call her as a witness on his behalf, but she may not want to do that now. That may be all over for her, and she may not want to testify on his behalf now that she knows what he said to her. Hey, John, thank you so much, my dear. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for all of you for supporting my channel. Everyone who comes every time I'm on and listens, I so appreciate all of you. If he pleads guilty, Stephanie, a lot of this stuff will still come out. Some of this will become public domain knowledge with the case. Some of it may not. There's some things we may never know, and we have to resign ourselves to the fact of that. Alice, she doesn't have to testify against her husband. In this country, she's protected about that. She does not have to testify against him. So the Constitution affords her that. But what I'm saying is they would be calling her as a character witness for his defense, to talk about why he couldn't be bridge guy. I don't know that she would be willing to do that now. She may be a hostile witness. And I think she herself could be going through her own, well, I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. She's going through the most stress she's probably ever had in her life. And there's no doubt that she was absolutely madly in love with this man. And probably still is, and is having trouble wrapping her head around all of this. And, it's, Deb, it's quite possible. He could have all kinds of ideas in his head but what I think is, in my opinion, is what he's trying to do is he's trying to force them away from him, and to cut the cord. And because he's going to go away for, I don't see them doing the death penalty in this case. I don't believe they have enough to do the death penalty. I could be completely wrong, but at this point, I do not see it. But he's either looking at death or he's looking at life in prison. So does he want to drag them along for that? Or does he want to set them free, so to speak? And I think that that's one of the things, CJK, that we lose sight of when we cover all of these serial killers and all of these cases where these murderers murder just seemingly for no reason. This isn't a crime of passion. This isn't, somebody snapped, came home and found their spouse or whatever with someone else or whatever. This isn't this kind of a situation. This is a situation where it was premeditated. This person went out looking to hurt someone, we know. Whether he was actually stalking them in some way, we don't know that 100% yet. We're going to have to wait and see. But we need to be aware that, these families are victims of Richard Allen. His daughter's family, her husband, his family, everybody that is associated with this man in that way, in that familial way, are victims of him. Their whole lives imploded on October 28th when they arrested him and charged him with 2 counts of murder. And none of us know what that feels like. None of us know how or what we would do given that moment in time when there comes a knock on the door and there's FBI agents standing there to inform you that your father has just been arrested for a double homicide of 2 teenagers in a town you lived in, went to school in, grew up in, and you had no idea. Carrie Rawson knows. And Carrie wrote a book, The Serial Killer's Daughter, and how it affected her, and how finding out her father was BTK, what that did to her family, and what that did to her. So, Danielle, I get it, but those pictures were taken before the murders. Just so you know. So, you know, it's one thing for us to criticize and say, well, she had to have known. There's no way she couldn't have known. That is not true. That is not how this works. That's not how these criminals operate. These psychopaths and sociopaths. It's not how they operate. And how do you go simply to the grocery store anymore? How do you simply go to the gas station to get gas for your vehicle, knowing that people are pointing the fingers at you and saying, there she is. That's that murderer's wife. That's that murderer's, I mean, it's just like, no, it is not. The picture of her taken on the bridge is not after the murders. The shirt of her on the bed is a Libby and Abby shirt. That is correct. So, yeah, I just, you know, when you stop and think about all of this stuff and how to wrap your, you know, to wrap your minds around what, you know, what's going on and how we tell their stories matter. Just keep in mind that Kathy Allen and his daughter and her husband and his mother and all of these people in his lives are victims of Richard Allen. And I can't imagine what his little girl is thinking about her father right now. You know, he went to her wedding after the murders and gave her away. And in those photographs, she looks beautiful. He looks handsome and happy, dressed up in a suit with her, you know, with his wife. The look on their faces is pure joy. You would never know that this man was going to be a suspect in a double homicide by just looking at them. And the sad thing, as you're thinking about them and you're thinking about all of that, imagine all of that tenfold on Abby and Libby's family and and what they've gone through for 6 years. Kathy Allen and them have only been experiencing this since late October. But the Williams, the Pattys, the Germans, They've all been experiencing this for 6 years. And they're still experiencing it because there's still people out there who won't stop beating the drum that the family's involved. And they still have to see that every day. And when this case is so strange. I was going back through many of my notebooks. I was looking for some information a few days ago. And I was thinking to myself, there isn't a case that I can even remember. Hey, Dave, welcome back, my dear. I have to say, my 50 years of following true crime, I can't think of a case that comes to mind that has all the twists and turns and bizarre things that have happened as the Delphi case. But I will tell you this, one of the things that I thought was great that Fig was able to get Jennifer to talk about was this whole aspect of why Richard Allen wasn't caught in the first week, when he obviously went to someone, as we know him, a conservation officer, Department of Resources officer, whatever, said, hey, I was at the bridge that day. I didn't see any. I saw some girls. I saw 3 girls. And oh, yeah, nothing special. Just, how did that get missed? Well, Jennifer talks about how tips are handled traditionally in a case, and how they're put into the tip system and how they're marked. And she definitely feels that someone marked this tip as not needing followed up on. And if you look at the information that we have coming out of the court regarding what happened in that situation, the conservation officer made clear on his notes what he felt needed followed up on were the 3 teenage girls that Richard Allen saw. You have to remember that he went to the conservation officer. He gave all of this information, and at that time, there was no picture of Bridge Guy out. And it was not a known fact that there was this man on the bridge with them. We didn't know any of that yet. They didn't know any of that yet. So for them, this was just a guy. Now, what Jennifer Coffendiffer says that should have happened, as soon as the head honcho over the investigation saw the video from Libby's phone and knew that there was this white male out there on the bridge that day, and they heard the audio, that at that point in time, that's when that person should have said, wow, white male came to us, said he was out there that day. Has anybody talked to him? Has he been interviewed? Blah, 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 blah. That did not happen with Richard Allen. It got missed. It got missed because either he was written off as not being relevant, or it was written off because it was simply misfiled and mislabeled and it didn't get followed up on. And I truly believe that in late May, early June of last year, they went back to the beginning of all of the tips and started going through them. And I believe they did it with cold case detective. And I believe it was Paul Hulse. And I will stand by that until I find out differently. I think that's why Paul was in Delphi. I think that's why he was photographed on the bridge. And I think that's why he made a very ominous Instagram post 10 days before Richard Allen was arrested. So that's my take on that. I think that once they started going back through those initial days, that initial month or whatever, and they started looking at tips that were coming in, that's when they found it wasn't a tip, it was an interview that was held in a parking lot with Richard Allen. And so I think that was how it happened. And for everybody, we all have compassion, and we all feel this sense of, oh my gosh, this shouldn't have happened. This could have been over so much sooner for the families, for everybody involved. But you guys have to remember that these men and women who do these jobs, they're just like us, and they make mistakes. Hey, Butterfly Kisses, how are you? Hey, Kamala, welcome. So good to see you. Robin, the trial date, I do not look to go any earlier at all. If we even have a trial, it won't be until next year sometime. I don't even see the trial date of January of 2024 being possible and at this point with this case. So that's just my take on it. I could be wrong, but no, they definitely won't move the trial up. There's just too much discovery, too many expert witnesses that need to be called and stuff. So yeah, I don't see that happening. Yeah, Kamala, that's very true. Ted Bundy's girlfriend did call the tip line and talked about how he would go out at night, and that he had a plaster cast and drove a VW. So I think that it's very apparent, Dave, when you look at the information that we have, that the conservation officer did not see Richard Allen as anything but a witness. He didn't see him as a suspect. He saw him as a witness. And the thing that he thought was relevant that he brought up was the fact that he saw 3 teenage girls out there, and that was what needed to be checked out. He absolutely wrote that down in his notes. So, but so where does that leave, where does that leave us? We've all said from the very get-go when they arrested Richard Allen that this is not a slam dunk. Now that they have these confessions, does that make it easier, better? It definitely strengthens the prosecution's case. Most definitely strengthens it. But a slam dunk? No. Why? For many reasons. But you're going to have, and we don't know all the evidence yet. We still don't know what else they may have. And they may have more. And if they have something that's the smoking gun of this case, which could be touch DNA, it could be all kinds of different things, then, his goose is cooked. But will all that evidence get into the court? Will it all be presented to a jury? We don't know that yet, because we know that the defense is going to fight like hell to keep some of this evidence out of court. So we're going to have to wait to see how all those motions play out and what's allowed and what's not allowed. The prosecution has an upward battle, in my opinion, as well as Jennifer's opinion, because of how they've treated Richard Allen since his arrest. Richard Allen, in my opinion, does not belong in a maximum security prison. This man has not been convicted of anything, and that's just not how our justice system is supposed to work. People who are waiting trial in this country are innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. And we can think they're guilty all we want to, but that doesn't matter. That's not how our justice system works, and it's not how our justice system should work. It should be what can be proven. So, yeah, he belongs in any county jail in the state of Indiana. Put him anywhere. Get him the heck out of that jail that he's in, the prison that he's in. Because the more they keep him there, the more chance they are giving the defense ammunition for a mistrial as well as appeals if he is convicted. This is the first time we have ever heard of someone pre-trial being held in a prison. This doesn't happen, you guys. It does not happen. And even though the warden has told us that he's not being mistreated and that he's being treated no differently than any other prisoner, he shouldn't be being treated like a prisoner. He's not been found guilty of anything. He's just being held for his day in court. I don't think people understand that that's what that means. And how would you feel if somebody walked into your house and slapped handcuffs on you and took you out and threw you in a maximum security prison and left you there for months on end in isolation until your court date? So that is why this is so important. In this country and in our justice system and the way our court system works, everyone should be treated the same. And you cannot mistreat one prisoner and treat him this way and treat someone else another way. That's discrimination. And Tobe Lesenby already has multiple claims against him and is being sued. Multiple suits because of treatment in the Carroll County Jail. And yeah, CJK, it is different. In a maximum security prison, it's a heck of a lot different than a county jail. They are holding Brian Kohberger in a county jail. He is being held for a quadruple homicide with a knife, horrific crime that he's been convicted, or excuse me, that he's been not convicted of, but accused of. And he's in a really tiny county jail. I think it's smaller than Carroll's. So if they can do it, Indiana can do it. And that's something that's just going to happen, Stephanie. No matter who you are, if you go into a jail and they find out that you're there for murdering children or young people, they're gonna mistreat you, the other inmates. And Richard Allen is on suicide watch, which is another reason why he's in this cell he's in and why he's being watched constantly. Jennifer brought up in her interview with Fig the problematic issue of the fact that they filmed him with his attorneys. I mean, all of that is just adding all kinds of problems to this case that they don't need. And I just wish that they would do the right thing. And that's just my opinion. Because it's not the way it's supposed to work. You don't go to prison before you've been convicted of anything, period. You don't. County jails are where people are supposed to be kept and housed until they're able to have their day in court. And our Constitution gives everyone their day in court. And one of the things that comes to mind when we talk about these cases, and in fact, when I say how we tell their stories matter, you know, the gag order that's in place in this case is in place because they don't want this case tried in the media. They don't want the media circus, but it still is being tried in the media because everywhere we look, people are talking about it. And it's been that way. It's going to be that way because it's a feeding frenzy for everyone. Majority of us want justice for Abby and Libby, and that's why we're all doing it. But there is a bit of another element that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it for all other kinds of reasons. They want to write a book about they want to write a screenplay and make money off of it sometime down the road. They want their podcast to blow up and make them thousands upon thousands of dollars. They're not doing it for the right reasons. So, you know, it's, is it a good thing that we have these confessions? Yes, I think it's a really good thing. I think he's going to have a really hard time, even if he's got mental issues right now and fell apart in prison. That to me does not cause you to confess to a double homicide of children. You would be absolutely screaming that you're innocent, screaming at the top of your lungs that you were innocent if you didn't do this crime. And you also would be, I don't know how to explain it. I get so wrapped up with the naysayers and the people who want to believe that he's being framed and all this other garbage. Yes, CJK, they listen and record all calls in jail. It is posted everywhere. Both parties, the party that's being called and the party doing the calling, are told that the call is being recorded. And there was an order to move him. The Cass County Sheriff has said that he will take him. He doesn't want him, but he can keep him safe and he will take him. Hey, Mary, welcome. Good to see you, my dear. So yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see what plays out in the next court dates and how this all works. I expect to hear more from the defense. They're not done with this issue. They want him moved. Why do they want him moved? Because it is really hard for them to get to him. He's far away from them. So, you know, I just think that Deb said it earlier, you know, attorneys are making money off of this case. They're going to hold out, the defense attorneys, you know, they're making money on this case. And, you know, a lot can be said about that. Lisa, hi, my dear. I must have missed you coming in, but you are right. Some people do seem to actually want to sabotage the prosecution, and it is very disturbing. And people who want to continue to push other narratives, I'm fine with whatever people want to believe, but just don't scream it on the airwaves. We got an ongoing trial. Let the trial play out without all of the other stuff. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think I would not be at all surprised if the defense has reached out to find people who do believe in his innocence and why they believe this. And if it has to do with Ron Logan or some other POI that they're not willing to give up. I've talked about it before. There's all these people who have their POIs and, they're willing to go up on that hill with them and die there because they're not going to give up that person, even though they can't put that person not only in Delphi, but they can't put that person at the bridge. They have no evidence that puts that person at the bridge, none, but yet they still believe it. That's the stuff that gets me going and gets my blood pressure going and stuff, because when you are looking at a case, any case, you got to have the evidence. You got to have evidence that's going to put them there. And I said from day one, you got to be able to put him with the girls in the woods. And yeah, I mean, it's just jury selection is going to be crucial in this case. You're absolutely right. They're going to be choosing the jury from Allen County, which is the county where Judge Gull's from. It's where she practices from. And, we'll have to see how that goes. They expect the jury selection to take about 3 to 4 days, which doesn't surprise me in this type of a case. I don't believe it's going to be as easy to select a jury as they think, or they may think, but I could be wrong there too. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about Delphi. I did want to bring up something about Bryan Kohberger, because I've seen 3 or 4 different interviews with the family's lawyer this past week, and the families are upset. The victims' families are really upset. They have asked the University of Idaho to delay the demolition of the Moscow house where these killings occurred. And that the house has been completely boarded up. All the windows are covered. They have police tape surrounding it. And they have a guard that guards it 24/7. And it's set to be demolished by the university. And every time the TV crew or the newspaper crew tries to find out from the university when that date is, they're told that there hasn't been a set date yet, but they're working on it. Some of the victims' families are opposing the destruction because they think they should wait until after the trial. I couldn't agree with them more. I think if they destroy this house before the trial, it could be devastating for the case in many ways. Jurors oftentimes need to see a visual, and being able to actually be there makes things much more real for them, and they can see how things actually happened. This house is not like a normal house. It is cut up. You'd call it a cookie cutter house. It is cut up like you wouldn't believe. It is so bizarre how this house is set up. I've never seen anything quite like it. And that in itself makes it really hard to understand that the killer didn't know his way around this rental home, because in my mind he had to have. I feel he's been in that house. He'd been in that house at some point because he knew right where to go. He went right up the stairs and right straight to the girls, to Maddie and Kaylee. So, but anyway, they are really upset, and they are opposing the tearing down of the house. There hasn't been a date set yet, but they want to remove the house before August 21st, when the students are due to come back into Moscow for the fall semester. And so, you know, Brian has been charged, obviously, with 1 count of felony burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder, and they are seeking the death penalty if he's convicted. Now, Shannon Gray is the attorney for the Gonsalves family, and he said that the university is disregarding the family's request that the home be left standing until after Kohberger's trial. And his trial is due to start on October the 2nd. Dave, I think it's because Ethan's family has taken a completely different outlook on this case. And they're kind of stepping aside and letting it play out. They're trying to heal and live their lives differently and not be so involved in the case. And I think that that's why there's only the 3 families that are feeling that. The university did ask the family's opinion on the demolition, but then they proceeded to just not do anything with those opinions. And that home has a lot of evidentiary value. And it is a piece of evidence in the case. And even though they have tons of pictures from inside that home and the crime scene and the bodies and all of that, nothing supersedes having a jury take a jury trip and walk through that house and walk through the crime scene. So if it's going to happen within the next 7 weeks. And they're trying to get everything out of it and remove all the personal items from the home and making those available to the families if they still want them. The defense nor the prosecution are objecting to the demolition. Neither one are objecting. So if the prosecution was objecting, I don't think it would be happening. So after the November incident where the students were killed, the owner of the King Road property actually donated the property to the University of Idaho, and that announcement was made in February of this year, and that's when they announced that they were going to demolish it. The home is valued at $344,000. And I'm like, that house is not worth $344,000. I don't care who you are. That house is no $344,000 house, but that's just me. The members of the Mogan and Kernodle families are opposing the destruction of the home until trial. And he does not represent the Chapin family, and he's not sure where they stand on the matter. But I did see a interview with Ethan's mom and dad where they talked about they are trying to forgive and move on. And that is what they're trying to do with their own lives for their own well-being and their own mental health. And you can't condemn them for that. I actually applaud them for being able to do that, because that is unbelievable something to be able to do. So yeah, there are tort claims that were filed in May for the Gonsalves and Mogan family by Gray, the attorney, against the University of Idaho, the city of Moscow, and the Idaho State Police. The reason these tort claims were filed is it is a legal step, you guys, to preserve the rights of these two families to sue each of the government entities if they choose related to the deaths of their children. So, the university is maintaining that they have been in regular communication with the four victims' families since they took ownership of the house. There was a letter sent, sorry guys, by the attorney to the university, or it was an email, I guess, and where he presented the wishes of the families about the home and leaving it untouched for the time being. They got an email response from the university's attorney, Kent Nelson, and this is what that stated. Our research has not revealed any civil action that you could file to create a duty in the university to preserve the house. The university has good faith reasons for wanting to demolish the house, and the university did not own the house when the homicides occurred. In addition, the defendant was not and is not affiliated with this university in any way. Nelson added that neither the prosecution nor the defense objected to the property being destroyed, and also wrote that it had been released from the criminal proceedings. He told Gray that the U of I needed cogent argument or cogent argument that cited relevant case law, rules, or statutes from the families to deviate from its plan to move forward with the demolition of this house. And he requested that by the end of the day on June 23rd. And Gray said Nelson sent him the email response on June 22nd. So they only had 1 day to get what he requested. Gray did not respond on whether or not he met that deadline or not. The University of Idaho is choosing to demolish the home despite the wishes of the families. By waiting to demo the King Road home until after the trial, it would honor the family's wishes and support the judicial process if the home is needed in the future by the prosecution, defense, or jurors. For now, the university is remaining steadfast to its plans to raise the house before the students return to campus in August. We appreciate that the families, as well as the entire community and university community, are working through their grief and navigating their own paths forward in these trying circumstances. Nelson wrote to Gray, the university believes demolishing the house will promote healing for members of all of the families, as well as for our students, the larger university community, and the Moscow community as a whole. So that's what's going on in Idaho. If you guys remember when I talked or covered the Eliza Fletcher case out of Memphis, she was the teacher who went jogging. She was out on her morning run and she was abducted and murdered. Well, the Cleotha Abston is the person they arrested and is accused of kidnapping and killing her. They are seeking the death penalty in this case. He is a violent ex-con with a history of brutal crimes. He was released early from prison, and allegedly he sexually assaulted at least one other woman before the murder of Eliza Fletcher, 34, whom police say he dragged into the back of his SUV and shot during a jog near the University of Memphis campus around 5:30 a.m. on September 2nd, 2022. The Shelby County District Attorney is said this week that they are seeking the death penalty if Abston is convicted. And the DA's office did not reply to the Fox News reporter. But in the past, Mulroy, a progressive Democrat, has voiced opposition to the death penalty. However, Abston's case is not the first time he has announced intent to seek capital punishment for a crime that has rocked the city. Shortly after Abston was arrested, a 19-year-old Ezekiel Kelly was also arrested in an unrelated shooting spree, allegedly killing 4 and wounding 3 more in a live-streamed attack that promoted a citywide lockdown, according to authorities. The facts of the case compel me to seek the maximum penalty provided under the law, regardless of my personal beliefs, Mulroy said in March when he announced that his office would seek death for that suspect. And in an interview with Fox News Digital this week, Fletcher's abduction, or the week after Fletcher's abduction, the DA distanced himself from other progressive prosecutors who said he may have tarnished the brand and that he was learning from their mistakes. So, yeah. Abston was only 16 years old when he began a 20-year prison term for kidnapping another victim at gunpoint. His criminal past began when he was even younger, with charges that included aggravated assault and sexual assault. He was younger than 16, you guys. He told investigators that he had dropped out of school after 9th grade, according to court documents obtained by Fox News, but they found no evidence that he'd ever attended high school at all. Abston racked up his first sexual assault charge at the age of 14. At 16, he abducted a prominent Memphis lawyer named Kemper Durand, who is now deceased, at gunpoint, threw him in the trunk of his own car, and drove him around to various ATMs, demanding that he withdraw cash. Court documents show. Abston pleaded guilty in that case and served about 20 years of his 24-year sentence. On the morning of September 2nd, 2022, Abston allegedly camped out near the campus entrance for about 24 minutes before Fletcher's jogging route brought her into the area. And police say that surveillance cameras recorded him sprinting out of a GMC Terrain SUV and forcibly grabbing her. In the ensuing struggle, he lost his Champion brand slides at the scene, and police found his DNA on them, according to an arrest affidavit. Fletcher, who was an avid runner, a teacher, and a mother, was reported missing later that morning by her husband after she failed to return home. Police found her remains dumped behind a vacant home near Abston's brother's apartment days later, and witnesses told investigators they saw him washing out the SUV in the parking lot with chemical cleaner. A neighbor told Fox News that the house has been vacant for more than 15 years. Abston is a repeat offender with juvenile convictions that include sexual assault and aggravated assault. At 16, he was charged as an adult in another kidnapping case. He's due back in court on August 4th at 9 a.m. So that's going to be another death penalty case. I posted on my community page today, you guys, about Winter Smith. I don't know if you guys heard about little Winter, but Winter went missing. She's 2 years old, or was 2 years old. And she went missing out of Lansing, Michigan on Wednesday. I'm sorry, not on Wednesday. On the Monday, sorry, the early morning hours of Monday, July 3rd. And an Amber Alert was issued for her following the sexual assault of her mother and home invasion that happened in the Lansing home. But they did discover her body, at least a body believed to be her, was found in Detroit on the city's east side on Wednesday, according to FBI investigators. The location is near Nodal and Irwin Streets, east of Van Dyke and north of Harper, and the body was located in an alley near a house. The FBI acting special agent Devin Kowalski gave a briefing near the scene where Smith's body was found and said that at approximately 6:50 p.m., the body of Winter Cole Smith was recovered by FBI agents. This is not the outcome that we were hoping for, he said, and our hearts go out to Winter's family. Based on information developed through this investigation, our teams were searching multiple areas across the state over and over again, and specifically in the area adjacent to where we are standing. Smith had been missing since the early morning hours of July 3rd. I am deeply saddened to report the search for Winter Cole Smith has come to an end, said Lansing Police Chief Ellery Sosby. At approximately 6:50 p.m., a federal search team in Detroit located the little girl's body near Coleman A. Young Airport. This case has moved from a missing child investigation to a homicide investigation. And I want to remind everyone that this is an open investigation, and I will not comment on specifics at this time. This is not the outcome anyone has hoped for, but I promise law enforcement will see that the family gets the justice that they so deserve. Kowalski said the FBI's Detroit Evidence Response Team is working the scene where she was discovered. Our best people are back there to do what is necessary to be as respectful as possible to Winter and her family, and this will be a thorough and deliberate crime scene investigation. It will take time to carefully collect evidence that we need to help bring the person responsible to justice. The suspect, Rashad Trice, age 26, was arraigned on Wednesday on several charges, including criminal, sexual conduct, home invasion, unlawful imprisonment, and domestic violence, among other charges. When Trice was arrested, Smith was not with him. Police said Trice took 2-year-old Winter from her home in Lansing on early Monday morning. Investigators said the toddler was taken by Trice, her mom's ex-boyfriend, after he stabbed her. He then fled to Metro Detroit with Winter and was eventually arrested in St. Clair Shores. There was an Amber Alert put out for the missing toddler. So here we go. We have another case of another little girl and another little child that was taken and is now deceased. hold on a second. I want to share. Oh, no, that's not what I want either. Let's see. Oh, where is it? Extra. Yeah, I can't get it to come up. Her mother was stabbed. As far as I know, her mother's in the hospital. Her mother was sexually assaulted. Yeah, hold on a second. I'm trying to get her her photo pulled up. Just give me a minute, you guys. Not sure why I'm not. It's like, there we go. Let's see. Sometimes you think your computer is going to work and then it just decides not to. It's just crazy. Yeah, I can't get it to come up. Sorry, guys. But her picture's over on my community page. So if you get a chance, just hop over there. And she was a beautiful little girl. And it's just so sad. Hey, Sharon. And tragic. It's just heartbreaking. I'm getting so fed up with these cases of these people. It's so maddening. It really, truly is. So the Chad Doreman case, you guys, he was in court a couple of days ago for his arraignment. And it's just sad. This whole case is just, it was a lot of why I needed to step back for a few days, because just to watch everything that happened and know what he did to his 3 sons. He lined them up and executed them and did it in front of his wife, ripping the youngest 3-year-old boy from her arms and shooting him in the head. But he executed them, and there's just no rhyme or reason to what this man has done. And I'm going to definitely be following this case. They have set his bond at $20 million. This man is, to say he's pure evil, he's worse than pure evil. I can't even begin to tell you the body cam footage that's out there of his arrest is gut-wrenching. To watch how he was so nonchalant about everything that he had just done is just incredible to me. He wounded his wife, shot her through the hand while he was getting his youngest son away from her. And, he had absolutely been planning this, authorities say, for months. This was not something that was just where he snapped and just suddenly did this. He had been planning this, to do this to his family, to do this to his children. And so, yeah, It's just crazy. But let's see. I wanted to see to watch how calm he was is just disturbing at best. I don't understand. I just don't know how you could be so calm and so collected. And then when he gets into court, all he does is sob and cry and act like, oh my gosh. But yeah, monstrous, evil, cowardly, all those adjectives about him, just to describe him, come to mind. The trauma that this mother is going to have to live with for the rest of her life, not to mention his stepdaughter, who was 15, who ran from the house down the street to the fire department to let them know what was happening. It's just it's just hard to imagine what the trauma is going to be for them, and how they're going to resolve all of this. The defense asked, they gave a $20 million bond. The defense wanted a $75,000 bond, citing that Doreman's employment and co-signers. So I'm like, no, this guy doesn't belong out in the community ever again. And the immense grief and horror that he has inflicted upon his family and as well as the community, there's just not a whole lot to say. But if you guys didn't know about this case, it's horrific. The children were 7, 4, and 3, and they were found in the front yard just a few feet away from where the rifle lay next to him, where he sat on the front porch. So I will be following that case. I just, like I said, it was a lot, and it was extremely emotional. It took a lot out of me, and yeah, it's just hard to understand. I mean, we as normal people, we will never figure out why these things happen and what makes people do this horrific stuff that they do to one another. I know that somebody in chat was talking about Rudy Farias or Farias. I have not been able to figure out for sure what the heck's going on with this case, but I had a People magazine crime article appear in my email right before I came on live, and I'm just going to tell you what it says. Rudy Farias was not missing for 8 years, as family has claimed, the Houston police have revealed. The Houston Police Department officials revealed that in 2015, the then 17-year-old Rudy returned home the following day after being reported missing. Days after, it was revealed that a Houston, Texas man was found alive after disappearing as a teenager 8 years ago. Authorities have released new details in this very puzzling case. During a Thursday afternoon press conference, Houston Police Department authorities revealed that Rudy Farias, now 25, was never missing during the 8-year period that the public believed he was. An HPD lieutenant said that in 2015, Farias, then 17, returned home the following day after being reported missing by his family after vanishing while walking the dogs. The lieutenant also said that it was determined that Farias had previous contact with the Houston Police Department, but he and his mother, Janie Santana, had given authorities fictitious names and birth dates. Rudy's mother continued to deceive police by remaining adamant that he was still missing. The lieutenant added, and at this time, the Harris County District Attorney's Office is not charging Farias or Santana for making the fictitious reports. Officials said investigators have reached out to Adult Protective Services to ensure he has a method to recover. But based on Farias's interview with authorities, there was no report of sexual abuse. Farias is now safe and back with his mother by choice, authorities said at the press conference. Questions began swirling around the case shortly after it was announced on Sunday by the Texas Center for the Missing that Farias was found alive. My son Rudy is receiving the care he needs to overcome his trauma, but at this time he is nonverbal and not able to communicate with us, reads a previous family statement shared with ABC 13. We are asking for privacy during this very difficult time, but we'll share more details as Rudy continues to heal. Farias was transported to the hospital after being found unresponsive outside of a church with cuts and bruises across his body, Farias's mom told ABC 13. However, this week, neighbors disputed the mother's claims, saying they've spotted Farias in the neighborhood in the past few years and even spent time with him. He used to come in my garage and chill with my cousin's son and daughter, neighbor Keisha Ross claimed. That boy has never been missing. Citing civil court records, ABC 13 reports Farias's mom does live on the same street as Ross in northeastern Houston. Ross's cousin Broderick Conley claimed he and Farias often hung out together and had laughing good times, but Ross and Conley said they have not seen Farias in the last few weeks. Another neighbor who wished to remain anonymous claimed to ABC 13 that he has seen Farias living at his mom's home for years. Houston activist Quinnell X spoke to media outlets on Wednesday and claimed that Farias had told him that he was abused by his mother for years. KHOU 11 reports. However, authorities disputed these claims at the Thursday press conference, but did not directly name Quinnell. Authorities said the investigation is ongoing. The Houston Police Department also revealed this week that Farias's family contacted authorities in 2018 to report that he was staying behind a relative's home, but he was never found after police searched the property, USA Today reported. A spokesperson with the Houston Police Department previously declined to comment to People on the case, citing the active investigation. So that's what we have on that case as of this afternoon from the Houston Police Department. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you doing? Good to see you. So, yeah. But anyway, guys, that's all I really have for you tonight. Thank you. So my voice is starting to go, so it's time for me to wrap things up. I really enjoyed my time with you tonight. I hope that we had a good discussion about Delphi and Richard Allen and the confessions and the forensic ballistic evidence. So good to see you, Frank. Always good to see you, my dear. You need to come on my show. I need to have you on my show. But yeah, like I said, I've missed you guys, but I did need to take the week off. And I'm glad that I did and got rejuvenated and revived a little bit. So yeah, I'll be back and see you guys on Saturday night. And I look forward to that. Again, if you guys would do me a favor and please subscribe if you have not, so that you know when I'm going to go live. If you liked the video, please like and leave a comment. Let me know. I do respond to all my comments on my channel as best I possibly can. And share my video with others that may want to see a true crime channel. If there's any cases that you guys are wanting me to cover, I know I saw somebody, CJK, maybe it was you that asked me about the case in Oklahoma. Yes, I've been following that case. I need to check up on it. And I'll do that for Saturday. I will give an update on that case. But yeah, guys, it was really good to see all of you. For anyone who catches the replays, thank you so much for watching and for being here. You're just as important to me and to the channel as the people who actually show up in the live streams. So again, thank you. And, you know, for everything you guys do to support me and my channel. Please be safe out there. Take care of one another and be kind. It doesn't take anything to be kind. Good night, everybody.